The Old Gold Club, powered by Wolverhampton Building Supplies, with Mikey Burrows and Chris Iwelumo.
Hello there, welcome along to the Old Gold Club. I'm Mikey Burrows. Alongside me, as ever, is Chris Iwelumo, and our guest this week spent 4 years at Molineux, making nearly 150 appearances, scoring 18 goals. Welcome to the Old Gold Club, Seyi Olofinjana.
What an introduction. Thank you very much for having me.
A lot of people that we have on this programme, Seyi, it's like their first visit back to Molineux in a long while, or perhaps since they first left and everything. Whereas obviously you still work for the club. You're here a lot. You're around the place all the time.
Home away from home, I call Wolves. I mean, good family club. It's the very first club I sort of joined when I came to England. And it's been home ever since. I mean, I bought a place in Southern Caulfield, not too far from here. And all my journeys, all my travels, even in England, this is home. I've always stayed around here, so why not?
What brought you back to Wolves? What?
Well, it's one of the best clubs I was fortunate to play for. It's very, very good family club, very, very good people with good values. Yeah. So why not? Why wouldn't you want to work for such an organisation after your football career, especially if you want to stay in the football industry?
Because you must have had lots of places though that you could have gone to after you stopped playing, and probably places that would have paid you to come in at the start of it, and yet you were like, no, I want to come and get involved no matter what.
Yeah, well, remuneration or values, or culture. You got to sort of pick which one tickles your fancy. Like I said, Wolves, big family club, good people, always has produced good people, and that's why I'm not surprised a lot of people are still working for the club today. Rob Edwards, Daz Vassell has come back. He's a Villa legend, but now he's working at Wolves. It speaks volume.
Yeah, and your role is a little bit different now, isn't it? Because people might have been aware that you were doing stuff with the academy, the 23s, and being a coach, but you see your future as a sporting director maybe one day. So now your role is educating and looking after the players who are out on loan.
Yeah, I tried coaching a little bit. I mean, I've got my A lessons, doing my pro badge now, and I thought, I haven't done it for 1 or 2 years. I'm not sure I'm going to be very, very good at this. I'm only joking. But yeah, I see myself in the admin building. I've always loved the admin side of football. I haven't played football myself. I haven't been very, very fortunate to play football. It's one of them. Well, if I can be in a position whereby I can control things a little bit, and the coaching industry is getting oversaturated in my opinion, and if I've been fortunate to have had a bit of education behind me and I'm passionate about the admin industry with regards to football, why not?
Have you got ideas about the administration side, about how to improve it? Obviously you're looking after players and things, and they do have to. We just come in some days, we don't know what goes on above our heads. We get the sessions laid out, we play our football, and then we switch off. We don't have any other. But you've been very different throughout your career. You've always thought about the makings of things and what goes on behind the scenes. Is that why have you came with that kind of mindset?
Well, it looks like that from the outside, but again, it's still the same thing. Even up until now, the biggest thing we have as football players challenge is the fact that we are always waiting to get told things, because all through our careers is always you got to report for training for 9 o'clock. You got to have your breakfast at 9:30. You get told a lot of things, and on the back end of my career, I struggle with that. I was always waiting for people to sort of tell me what to do. Yes, I had a little bit of knowledge of what I wanted to do and how I was going to do it, but coming to the other side, it was a different terrain for me, and how are things done here? I had to learn first to be very, very comfortable, but now I'm getting to a point where I can then begin to add my own twist to it.
It's all about relationships, and this is something you've got to build. Obviously, there's players on loan all over Europe. You have to build up relationship with their managers. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, so with the loan players, I think is the education you give them to start with, the understanding that comes from you're going out on loan, you're going into a different environment. I have this thing I came up with, I got from somewhere, Operation Fit In and then Stand Out. Fit into the environment you're going into, but again, stand out with the Wolves philosophy and the Wolves culture, because the environment you're going to be going to is going to be ever so different. But again, what you're going to learn on loan is the main thing for me. Playing, yes, it's very, very important, but sometimes not playing is even very, very good, because then you, from the position of, well, I think I'm ready, but maybe I'm not quite ready. already, and maybe I need to add one or two things to it. And it's that education, that relationship between myself, the player himself, and the manager and the staff over there to then see how we can help the player get to the next level, because it's a journey.
I love that, and I love the fact, I've heard stories and spoken to people around that, you provide these kind of big briefings for other people around the club and different people in different departments and other people in the academy to say how our players are coming along. And not all of them are going to make it, are they? Certainly not at Wolves anyway. But Scott Sellers has always said to me, if they don't make it at Wolves, we want to try and make sure they can make it somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I got this job, what I will do, apart from coaching the boys with Scott Sellers every day, is try and organize educational seminars for them. Of course, a lot of the time they don't see the benefit that comes from it. It's another session, it's another education, and I was trying to see how the PFA can then come and help us give these guys something else. And if not for this role I've occupied this season, the next stage for me will have been to sort of engage them, because they listen to all these PFA seminars and after a week they've forgotten all about it. But the next thing I would have loved to do, which if I would still love to do it, is then begin to sort of challenge them by giving them assignments, giving them projects to go and talk about it. For example, transfer window is on right now. I can pick 5-6 players and then say, go and tell me what's the biggest transfer. So all of a sudden you're helping their processing, you're helping their numeracy, things they would naturally not think about. You're helping them to think about it, because football players have this ability to just play football and just switch off and just think about the cars, but there's life after football. There's life during football, and you got to be interested in all these things, and you got to know all these things. There's a lot of things that come down.
See, he's good at this, though, isn't he? Because as we've been talking about on the podcast, by the way, which you can download the extended podcast from all the usual places, Seyi actually has 3 degrees. Yes. 3! This is a very smart man, and clearly a man who thinks about things in a slightly different way, maybe.
No, I think it's. I think with the mindset, his upbringing, where he's came from, he's came and he's, like you say, he's realising that it's a fantastic opportunity and took it. But giving something back, I feel that players, there is more awareness now about what comes after football. I think young players now, the advisors are getting better, because there has been so many big mistakes made, but still it's not enough. I think there still more needs to be done, and like seminars, like educating about, even if it's transfers, the knowledge of the game, being good at the game isn't enough anymore. You need to know why is the manager going with that formation? Why is he picking that? Why is he going with that player in that position? Why is he bringing in this player? Where does he need to strengthen? There is a great knowledge around, but the players need to know what goes on behind the scenes as well. I remember myself when I played, it was when I went into the coaching side of things, it was only because I got injured and it was a bad injury, but then I went and I'd go and meet Mick McCarthy a couple of times a week, and I'd talk to him about his team selection. I'd say, oh, this is my thoughts, and it used to get quite heated sometimes, but he says, I know where you're coming from, because I think we were playing Arsenal and he set us up so defensively. I says, what if you concede in the first 10 minutes? Because you've went defensive, you've went bumble. So let's stay in the match till we get to an hour in, and then we can go for it. I said, what if you concede? I mean, I think we conceded an own goal after 11 minutes. So that got completely, that full week of bubble is out the window.
Blaming me for that one.
But he did not. But then he comes back. He says, "Will you stay in the match?" It stays the exact same. You stay in the match, you don't concede again, and then that thing. And it's just little things that he just kind of opened my eyes. And then going into the coaching world, you have an understanding. You have a lot more respect of what the coaches put on, how the numbers work, the session plans, what they have to do to make the player better individually and as a collective, come as a unit. There's so much more. But these young players, I think there is a lot more awareness about it now. They know what goes into it, but again, we can do a lot more to improve that.
Because you talk about kind of learning from managers. For Seyi, you had 3 managers in your 4 years at the football club, and 3 very different managers as well, I imagine, in Dave Jones, Glenn Hoddle, and then Mick.
Well, very, very different managers for different reasons. Dave Jones is the most laid-back manager you'll ever work with. To play under Dave Jones, you need to be self-motivated, because naturally he's a very, very laid-back human being. He will let you do your own thing your own way as long as you produce on a Saturday. And a few times it didn't work, because sometimes players, in fact, not sometimes, a lot of the time players needs, come on, roll your sleeves and get on with it. Type of manager, which I got from Mick. So for different reasons, they're all very, very good managers. The best of the lot for me was Glenn Hoddle. Glenn Hoddle, I said, I can say this anywhere. I don't think his man management is very, very good, but tactically it was unbelievable. Unbelievable. He's the only manager I've ever worked with that you didn't need to have a look at the DVD the previous game, because I could have scored the brace in the game. I could be on the bench in the next game because he wanted to play a formation that I wasn't suited to playing. It was just unbelievable. That said, he had the players at the time to do it. The players at the time there were unbelievable, by the way. We had some very, very good players. And I thought that season we underachieved.
Well, that's because I was going to say, it's interesting you say that, because that time period is probably not that well liked by supporters at the time, because maybe it's because you didn't achieve maybe what you should have achieved.
The world doesn't like change. When you're doing something that is different to what everybody is doing, you better be right. You better be getting results. If you are not, then people reject it straight away. That was what happened to Glenn.
Did the players buy into it though?
Absolutely. Yes, it was difficult initially because I don't understand how well I've played, and the normal player mentality of, well, I've scored a goal last game, but I'm on the bench the next game. What are you doing? No, I've got this. But you're on the bench because I'm playing the diamond. We played 4-3-3 in the last game, but with the team we're going to play against, and we'll go into all the nitty-gritty and the detail of why you shouldn't be playing. But players didn't hear that. We just, come on, he doesn't like me. Well, what's he doing? Then you play the next game, you play the next one, and you play you in different positions. I could be playing in the pivot of the diamond today. I could be playing on the right wing the next day. So you needed adaptable players, and it was brilliant. So good at it.
See, I think the players, of course, they should be disappointed if they're not going to be playing. Would you say that Glenn was ahead of his time then? Because, like, I went out and played in Germany, and no matter what the result was, the team more changed because different players had different attributes that were going to go against the opposition. If it was me and Eric Mile, it was the strikers, similar kind of players, but the players' positions would change all the time because that player's better suited to play against this. No matter if they won the first, if we won 3-0, like you say, it's very, very likely the team was going to change again. Yeah. That's modern thinking. That's using the squad. You have 25 players, 30 players. You want to use them all the best you can because it's a squad game now.
Absolutely. I think you're right. I think Glenn was way ahead of his time when we had him all those years. But the first thing he did when he came was made the pitch big. We had a very, very small Molyneux to play with them. Well, we just got relegated in the championship, so we're going to keep everything tight. And no. I want it big. I've got very, very good players. I want to play expansive football. And straight away, the side I think it got wrong was the man management side because it will have been. Players, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to try and achieve, and this is how we're going to do it. Some of you are going to get disappointed because I'm not going to pick you. It's not because you're not good enough. And the managerial side of it was where you got wrong. But tactically, unbelievable.
But the thing is, though, the second season, obviously, you were injured for quite a part of that season, weren't you? And that was Glenn's best season. But you finished 7th, but you only scored 50 goals. And it's that thing, I think, of the reason why maybe it's not as well thought of by supporters, in that I take on board the point you're making about the tactical side of it, but from people watching it, the results weren't quite there, I guess, and certainly the entertainment factor maybe wasn't always there. Is that fair?
Well, fair to say, but again, like I said, people respond very, very differently to change. The fans weren't used to it. The players weren't used to it. If you had probably stayed another season or two longer, probably the players will have bought into it. He will have probably brought players he thought can then adapt to the system. Because I remember the first one of his first signings was Darren Anderton. We were playing some football, blah blah. But he said, "Well, I'm not sure. I think I need a player. I need somebody to sort of connect the dots." And we were all thinking, we had Incy, we had Colin Cameron, we had Mark Kennedy. We got ourselves covered. He brought in Darren Anderton, and oh my God, what a player! What a player. Delivery, set pieces, unbelievable. So he knew what he wanted to do. But again, communicating this to the world sometimes becomes very, very difficult, especially if results are not going your way initially. But I think at the time, he needed time to sort of bring everything together and make it happen.
See, I think that's something in football that you don't get, is time. I think he knows that he's kind of evolving the team maybe a little bit ahead of his time, but he needs to know that he has to do it in small stages because no one likes change. But if he did get the 3 years extra, it would have probably worked. because he had the experience, he had the knowledge. He probably has in his coaching staff someone that has that man management that can be the in between, because he knows that that's one of his weaknesses.
Yep.
And I just think that you don't get that in football anymore.
Well, one of the things that I guess stands out from your time at the club is that you were kind of caught in between eras. I guess that you still, I mean, your first couple of years, you mentioned Paul Ince and Colin Cameron was, I guess, a big midfield partner of yours in that first time, but that was the back end of the Premier League team. And then the Mick team kind of started to grow, and you left just before it.
Well, before we go into the back era, sorry. I think part of Glenn's problem was the fact that he came as Glenn Hoddle, like we all know him to be. He inherited a very, very good squad of players. We just got relegated, and I think people are thinking, well, we've got a lot of these players that played in the Premier League that got relegated, so we should be going up straight away. So that combination, people were looking at it and thinking, well, this is the perfect combination, and it doesn't always work like that in football, like you and I know.
It's interesting, but say on the thing of you in that middle period, you had Glenn goes, Mick comes in. You've gone from being you and Colin Cameron mainly to you and Carl Henry, and all of a sudden you start scoring goals.
Thank you. Miracles do happen, I promise you.
But it's important about having that balance. Like Carl, you know that he's a very technical player, very good player, got a great engine, but that gives you the freedom to go forward as well, because you know that he'll get on the ball and you can go and link up with the forward, and that obviously comes into play as well. It's all about that balance, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, the one player I felt sorry for at the time, in fact, two of them is Colin Cameron and Mark Kennedy, because before my time, they had to play with Alex Ray. He was a different character to myself. He was a tough guy in the dressing room. He would break things down. Got a big heart. I had to sort of learn. I had to watch a lot of his DVDs because they're saying to me, actually, you're coming to replace this guy, and this is what we're going to be missing. Can you do this? So I had to sort of understudy him, and okay, I can do this. Again, when Glenn came, I had to play in the defensive midfield position, breaking things up and making others play. Henry came, then it became a different role for me as well. A lot of the time I played for Mick as a force, number 10, number 9 at times, which gave me the opportunity to go forward. So it's about being adaptable, it's about knowing the kind of players around you, and it's about the information you get from the manager as well.
So which did you prefer? Because it sounds like you were a different type of player and then got asked to be more defensive when you first came.
Well, when I was younger, going back all those years playing back home, I've always played offensive midfield. I love scoring goals. I love the free role because I had a bit of ability better other than my colleagues. So I didn't want that restriction. But I started playing defensive midfield for the national team because when I got scouted to the national team, I had JJ Okocha, I had Kano, I had all these tested players who are naturally offensive midfield players. So the coach had to convert me to a defensive midfield player. But I came into this country with everybody thinking, actually it's a defensive midfield player, but I've always played offensive midfield.
I've got to ask you something then, because we put the three managers to you and you said Glenn Hoddle, but then you said because of the tactical side of it. That's because how you are. You like to break things down, the whole kind of the background, the administration side. Mick McCarthy got the best out of you. You finished top goal scorer. Man management. It's the biggest part of the game. I don't care how tactically sound you are. You said Glenn Hoddle. You said Glenn Hoddle for you. So what?
I said they are all very good managers for different reasons. Yeah. Now, Glenn Hoddle for me is the pick of the bunch because yes, the tactical was because I'm very, very analytical, as you can imagine.
I know, yes.
So I like to break everything down. I have to analyze. I have to know why things are happening. Yeah. Why is he playing that formation? What is he trying to get out of it? Yeah. I try to sort of know why. I don't just do things off the cuff. I need to know why I'm doing what I'm doing. So for that reason, I pick him. I like Mick McCarthy because what you see is what you get. No crap. With 4-4-2, and these are your roles and responsibility. Go and give me your all. Let me take charge of the result. I love people like that. When you were crap on Saturday, he'll be the first to tell you, actually, son, you're rubbish. And he'll be the first person to say good morning on Monday morning. I love people like that. Straight down to earth.
And you clearly responded to it, as Loom says. You ended that season as top scorer. Obviously, that season ended in the heartbreak of the playoff defeat to West Brom, and we spoke a lot about with Matt Murray when he came on the programme, and because obviously he gets injured on the eve of that, and I think there will always be a part of him that will feel that if he was fit, maybe taking nothing away from Wayne, but he might have made a difference. What's your view on how that panned out in the end? Because you score in the first leg of that playoff, don't you?
I did. It was going back to that feeling. Now I can remember that feeling very, very well. We thought we had everything covered. The preparation was second to none. The whole place was buzzing. You can imagine playing West Brom in one of the biggest game of the Wolves' history. You could feel it as a player. You felt it every day you went to training. The training ground was as though we were playing the game. I'm already already. Yeah, there were that many people.
Confident though.
Yeah, very. Of course, we've had a very, very good season. People didn't give us too much credit to start with. And all of a sudden, this is us finding ourselves in the playoffs position and we're playing against West Brom. The confidence was very, very high of it. But again, it wasn't meant to be. Felt sorry for Matt Murray, by the way, because the amount of things he's sort of gone through in his career is, well, I've got a lot of time for Matt Murray. It's not about him today. Let me not talk about it, but I felt very, very sorry for him on the day. Did he mention the game he played against Norwich, though? Because I thought that was his best Wolves game. I don't know if he mentioned it.
He probably mentioned...
It was Norwich against Matt Murray on the day. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. I have to say that.
But because when you look at it in the context of it, I say, to come so close as you did that year, and it was a bit of a surprise to a lot of people. What then happened the next year? Why didn't it follow on in the way that many people might have expected it to?
Anticlimax. The club not doing its part to sort of keep us hungry and motivated. Maybe new signings didn't come in at the right time. It is me making excuses now, but we've got our part to play as players as well.
Do you think it's the club's responsibility to keep the player hungry? You know, you've had a little taste of the semi-finals. That's down to that group of players, because there is some leaders. There's some great leaders in that dressing room that I walked into the season after that. You know, so it's down to the players to drive. I do agree with that, but sometimes what you call preparation is different from what I call preparation. And that's where the manager comes in. To then think my preparation is just, even though I think it's 90, it might be 60. Then needs to drive. The club then needs to sort of push and say, you know what, you think you're doing enough? No, you're not. Yeah. Because we thought we were hungrier. We thought we've tasted this now. Can we go a little bit further? Can we go a little bit higher? But that preparation came with a bit of false sense of worth. Yeah, well, we did it last season, so we can then stroll through the pack and then do it. But you need the manager to then say, come on, this has got to be better. Yeah. And I don't think we had that.
Because the abundant memory for me of that season is the final day at home to Plymouth. Because you scored, didn't you? 1-0 win, but you end up missing out by 1 goal.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, you know, you probably need 2, whatever it was. But it's that feeling of kind of so close, and maybe it was the goals that was needed, and hence why the big man to my right came in. But just that feeling of kind of being there, but not quite.
But at the time, even if I say so, that was Wolves at the time. We were the nearly team. We did everything, but it was, maybe if we just gone that extra. If we had just... Yeah. That was the time, and I thought that was why the change came, and trying to sort of rectify. And that was why 2009 it got done.
Do you feel? Is there a part of you that ever feels like you missed out on that?
Yeah, that's my one regret for Wolves. I came to Wolves thinking, with the caliber of players there, just got relegated. They're not selling a lot of players. We're going to keep everybody together. We're going to get up to the following season. That never happened, and I waited and I waited. I was playing for Nigeria at the time, so it was very, very important where I played. Of course. So I was under pressure. You have all these guys playing for PSG, playing for Arsenal, and they look at the record and we're not so sure. Yeah, Wolves is a big club in England, but as big as they are in the Championship, and that played on my mind a lot. That's why I stayed and I kept waiting and I kept waiting. Unfortunately for me, the year I left, the following year, the promotion came. Otherwise, I would have never left.
Obviously, when Wolves came in for you, you've said there, okay, it is important you're playing for your country. It is important where you go out and play. You know that Wolves is a big club. Did you know that, or did you have to put a little bit of homework into the history of the club and the players that they've got there, or was that just something that you knew for the size of the club?
It's history. Me being me, I do it up. I know you digging myself. Wolves are interested. Okay,
was it a hard decision? Hard decision.
Very, 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 very hard. But again, I got convinced by the caliber of players that are here. Yeah. Isaac Okoronko was there, who was Nigerian at the time, who played in the Premier League with me who played for Nigeria with me at the time. So he told me a lot about the club prior to my coming.
Because you end up obviously going to Stoke, who I presume Tony Pulis, because Stoke had just got promoted that year, hadn't they? So I guess they must have seen you and thought, this guy's, because they wanted the best players around in the Championship that they'd come up against. When you made that move, how hard was that? Because you've said this place was your home away from home. Absolutely. You will always have a special place for Wolves in your heart.
I think I made it clear when I left why I was leaving. I wasn't leaving because it wasn't about the money. It wasn't about not feeling comfortable. It's about ambition. I wanted to play in the Premier League. I think I had the ability at the time to play in the Premier League, and I waited and waited and waited for 4 years. It never happened. I had to move on because, this is a very, very short career. You've got to be selfish sometimes, and that was the only reason why I left.
Regret?
Yes, especially because the club got promoted that season I left.
Yeah.
If it hadn't happened, I wouldn't have had any regret whatsoever because I did what I thought was right at the time. But looking back now, if I had been there, maybe it wouldn't have happened, but you never know.
Because you said to us in the podcast again that people can listen to the extended podcast that kind of your regret in your career as a whole is that you didn't play enough in the Premier League. Yeah. That you could have done more in.
I could have done more, I thought. I could have done more. Yeah. I learned a lot of things at the back end of my career that if I'd got hold of somebody to say, son, if you do this, I played my best football the last 3 years of my career. Only because I was able to put some very, very simple things in place. And wow, the game could be this simple. All this while I've been using my muscle, blocking people. Just open your shoulder a little bit. Or play around the corner, get this. Nobody teaches you all these things. You learn them, but again, sometimes you learn them too late.
It's fascinating. We're going to finish off our Facebook show with the rundown. So this is the bit that I know that he's not been looking forward to. We start off, as ever, with who was the best player that you played with at Wolves?
Without a shadow of a doubt, Seyi Olofinjana.
Oh, okay. Why him?
Unbelievable talent. Natural. He just did things it goes past people without knowing it. Quality of cross, assist, goal scoring, unbelievable.
Brilliant.
Simply unbelievable.
Fantastic. Who was the worst trainer at Wolves?
This is going to be very, very difficult because
Be as harsh as
that
you like.
group you have to train. If Pauline's won't let you have it, he's just.
There must have been someone.
There will be somebody.
Are you putting yourself in there?
Give me a minute. No
What
chance.
were you like at training?
Colin Cameron won't let me. Colin Cameron won't let me. It might have been a young one. I tell you what, Dean Sturridge.
Dean Sturridge?
Dino, the very Dean.
Strikers.
Yes,
Strikers, isn't
yeah,
it?
Yeah.
Lazy.
Doing the minimum, scoring the odd goal and getting the man of the match.
Who was the biggest moaner?
Oh, did you need to ask? It's always going to be between Colin Cameron and Pauline's, but I'm gonna give it Pauline's. Everything was your fault. He's never at fault. Oh my God.
Because I thought you were going to say Carl Henry as well. There.
Well, he learned from the best, but
That's true. Who was your best friend at Wolves?
Seyi Olofinjana.
Okay,
Seyi Olofinjana.
I like
He
that.
had the right temperament. I love his person. I love his family. Very down to earth. He knew what he wanted. Maybe because we were both foreigners in the country, and we sort of clicked the moment he came into the club. Yeah.
Who had the best and who had the worst dress sense?
Oh, this. Sean Newton, the worst. Even though he thought he's got it all covered, every time he comes into the dressing room with this, Sean Newton, the worst. The best for me was Julian Lescott.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, he's got a bit of class about him, that man.
Yeah, a little bit, did he?
Yeah.
What was it? Just kind of smart every day?
Yeah, smart. Yeah, he thought about it. Very much like the rest of us. you could tell he makes effort.
Okay. Okay.
Who was the funniest player that you played with?
George and Dar. George and Dar's got a smile on his face every day. Every day. Funniest little man. He would be the one to sort of tuck things away, and he would be the one to sort of hide your flip-flop somewhere, and you're looking for it. It's just...
I was going to ask you, we always asking this, the best manager you worked for. We've covered it a bit in the podcast, and I don't think you're actually going to give us a definitive answer, because there's...
I'm still sticking with Glenn Hoddle.
Glenn Hoddle you're going to go with? Okay, fair enough. He's going with Glenn Hoddle.
That's fair enough. No, fair enough. What was the best goal that you scored?
For Wolves?
Yes.
I'll tell you what. I'll give you this one. It was the scrappiest goal ever. So, Ron Ricketts got the ball on the far side to the left. It's coming inside on his right foot. He's whipped this ball in. I think I ran ahead of the ball. Then I realized the ball was behind me. I've taken a great touch with my left foot to sort of bring the ball back. And I've had a shot that was going well wide, only for this Coventry player to put it in his net for an own goal. And I was celebrating as though the ball was top corner. It was unbelievable. I remember that goal, like, just there. I was just celebrating. Yeah, come on. I tell you, I was arguing the ball was goal bound until I saw it in the camera after the game. It was well wide. But hey.
Did you get it?
Of course. Of course. I have to claim it. That one don't count. No, it does count, actually. It's my goal.
They all count.
Oh, they all count.
They all count.
I don't care how you do it. Just get it done.
You're talking to him. He's claimed goals. He's not even touched.
Centre forwards. Centre forwards.
I love it. We're going to finish this off on our podcast extra for the time being on our Facebook and YouTube show. Thank you so much for coming in. It's been brilliant to talk to you, and it's brilliant to see that you are still involved in the club and still have such passion for it as well. Everybody, Seyi Olofinjana.
Thanks for having me.
The Old Gold Club, powered by Wolverhampton Building Supplies, with Mikey Burrows and Chris Iwelumo.